Today's lesson is the gradient of a line, part 2, using the formula. It's using 2 points. So before we do that, let's have a look at this. The size and sign of the gradient. The size of the gradient shows how quickly the line is going up or down. The higher the number, the steeper the line. The sign of the gradient shows whether the line is sloping upwards or downwards, or positive or negative, as you look from left to right. Now, what does that really mean? Remember, the line goes towards your left is the negative gradient, and the line goes towards your right is the positive gradient. Graph here is a horizontal flat line, has a 0 gradient. So what does that really mean? It just means 0 rise, because it's not going up. It just stay on the ground. So that's it's a 0. Let's have a look at this. If this wasn't line, if this was interval, and this point was -3 and 0, and this was 3 and 0, and what's the distance between from here to here? If I just count the space in between, it would be 6. Okay, but because it didn't go up or down, there's no rise. So if I want to use the formula, the m, the gradient, equals rise over run, I have a no rise. Rise is 0, but run is a 6. It went to the right by 6 spaces, and it'll become 0. When you have a flat line, it means 0 gradient. Now, it says optional, but I really highly recommend you learn this gradient formula. The same concept as rise over run, but if we had 2 points, and how we're going to find the gradient. For example, I'm looking at this diagram now here. I've got 2 points here, P and Q. And I'm going to call P as my first point and then say X1 and Y1. And then Q, I will have X2 and Y2 because Q is my second point. First, we plot them, and then second, you will actually form a right angle triangle. So I can see right angle triangle here, right angle triangle here. Okay, and then my rise is my y-axis and my run is my x-axis. The difference of the x-axis and difference of y-axis, that will give me the run and rise. I'm just gonna plot them first. So my point P is 1 and 2, and I'm going to the right by 1 here and going up by 2 right there. That's my P, and I'm looking at point Q now, and it says 10, but I'm going to change into 5. I'll go to the 5, going up by 3. That's my Q. So when I join them, it's a straight line. I need to find gradient, rise over run. Of course, you can form a right angle triangle to find it, but I'm going to use the formula. So that's my 5 and 3. P is 1 and 2. So P is my first point, Q is my second point. So first point, I'm going to call it X1, Y1. Q is my second point, so I'm going to call my coordinates X2, Y2. Now, rise over run is the gradient. The rise is going up, so which is y-axis. So I'm going to find the difference between the 2 y coordinates, I will have to go y2 take away y1. That'll give me my rise. And the x2 minus x1 will give me run. Point P, Q, y2 take away y1. So y2 is 3, take away 2. That's y2 minus y1. x2 take away x1. 5 take away 1. And when I tie this one up, 3 take away 2 is 1, 5 take away 1 is 4. So my gradient is 1 over 4. Let's have a look at the question. Part A, I've got 2 points. Point A is 1 and 4. Point B is 3 and 6. We need to find the gradient. This gradient is little m, which is rise over run. To do that, we need to use the formula, the difference in y over difference in x. I just named them the coordinates. The first point is the point A, second point is B, and each coordinates in each point, I'm going to name them as x1, y1 for the first one, x2, y2 as my second one. y2 minus y1, that's my y2, minus y1 is this one. So it'll be 6 minus 4. And x2 minus x1 is the 3 minus 1. Now, if I tie that up, 6 minus 4 is 2, and 3 minus 1 is 2, and it'll be 1 because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the gradient is 1. Part B. So I'm going to go straight into this. Gradient m equals rise over run, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Where's my y2, guys? Because that's my first point, z. That's my second point, t. And my y2 is this one, okay? And my y1 is this one. So I will go 6 minus 7. And then my x2 is this, and x1 is this one. So I will go 1 minus 4. So 6 minus 7, think about as a money. You had $6, you spend 7, you borrowed $1. So it's going to be minus 1. 1 minus 4 is minus 3. You can put all this in your calculator. You don't have to think about negative or positive at this stage if you're going to use a calculator. So when you put in your calculator, you will get the answer 1/3. And that will be your gradient for point Z and T line. Part C, M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So where's my y2? Which number is my y2? When I say any question, yes. Thank you, Alia. x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 is 3. Which one is my y1? Minus 2. So I'm going to write a minus 2. Can you see we've done the minus there? It's this one. But because it's got minus 2 here, you got to do minus 2 again. What's my x2?
3.
And what's my x1?
4.
Yeah. So let's tie this one up. 3 minus minus 2 becomes 3 plus 2. And then 3 minus 4 is just 3 minus 4. So if I simplify, that would be 5. Now this one, 3 minus 4, it's going to be?
Minus 1.
Excellent, minus 1. We don't write a 1 on the bottom. When it's a 1 on the top of the fraction as a numerator, we can keep it. But if it's a numerator on the bottom, we don't keep it. So the answer will be minus 5. Okay, next one. My m equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. What's my y2? Just minus 4. Is my y2. What's my y1?
Negative 1.
Good girl. So I'm going to have to write a negative, negative 1. Okay, guys? Now this will be the tricky question. Where's my x2? That's x1. That's y1. That's x2. That's y2.
4.
Yep, 4. The 4 minus, what's my x1?
Negative 2.
Excellent. So I'm going to put negative 2 here. Okay, guys, we got a bit complicated calculation here. Minus 4 minus minus 1. That becomes minus 4 plus 1. Remember? That becomes plus. And then 4 minus minus 2 is plus 2. Okay? So what's minus 4 plus 1?
Minus 3.
Fantastic. 4 plus 2. Well, it's easy. 6. Now, how do we simplify this, guys? I can't halve it anymore because the 3 doesn't do half. But if you look at it, 3 and 6, they're in the same family of 3, isn't it?
You
First
could
thing-
have 6, miss.
Yes, but you can't halve
you?
3,
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. So we
Yeah.
go, that's a good question, Mandy. So we have to go with families, okay? Now 3 and 6 is a family of 3. I'm going to actually divide it by 3 on the top and the bottom. Before I do that, that negative stays the same. Okay, you can't get rid of negative there. So 3 divided by 3.
It's just 1.
Yep. 6 divided by 3.
2.
Yep. The gradient is negative half. I'm going to have 2 multiple choice questions that we have to do. Which pair of points form an interval that has a gradient of -1? M equals -1. We got 4 choices, A or B or C or D. So I'm going to do is I'm going to actually test it, each one, to make sure the gradient is -1. So I'm doing the first one, A, M equals, which one is my Y2?
1.
1 minus, what's Y1?
2.
2. What's my X2? 2. What's my X1?
1.
Okay, so tie this one up, Kirsty. What's 1 minus 2?
-1.
Excellent. And then 2 minus 1?
1.
And what will be my final answer?
-1.
Correct, because we don't worry about 1 on the bottom if it's a denominator, okay? So we know the answer, right, guys? The answer will be just A, but let's continue with finding a gradient. B. What's my Y2?
7.
Excellent. What's my Y1?
6.
Excellent. What's my X2?
6.
Correct. And that X1?
-5.
Correct. So I'm going to have to put double minus there. And 7 minus 6?
1.
Good. Now what happens, Grace, is the 6 minus -5. When it's a 6 minus -5, what happens to this minus?
It becomes a plus.
Correct. So I put plus. So what would that be? 6 plus 5, Grace?
11.
Good. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. So the gradient is 1/11. Well done, Grace. Okay, next, what's my Y2?
-1.
And what's my Y1?
2.
-2, yep. Now what's my X2?
3.
Yeah, and then take away, what's my
2.
X1? 2. Okay, so tie this one up, Emily. What's -1 minus 2?
-3.
Excellent, good. And then on the bottom, 3 take away 2.
1.
Yep, and then what's my final answer? When it's a 1 on the bottom, we don't count it. We don't write it. So we're going to ignore it. So what do you got left?
So it's just -3.
Correct. Now, yeah, what's my Y2?
-11,
Good girl. And Y1?
-10,
So I'm going to go double negative, right? Negative, -10. What's my X2?
4,
4. And then negative. What's X1?
-5,
Excellent. So tie this one up, Alia, for me. What's on the top? -11. What happens here? Now, what happens to the negative?
turns into positive,
Yes, positive. So I just put positive and then I put 10. Is it okay, Alia?
yeah,
Yeah. And then what happens on the bottom? 4.
+5,
Excellent. Good. So tie this one up for me. What's happening on the top? -11 plus 10. What does that mean?
-1,
Good girl. And a 4 plus 5?
9,
Good. So answer for this question, well done, Alia. And gradient of -1, and only A gives a -1 here. Okay, next question is the last one. Which pair of points lies on a line with a gradient of 0? This time gradient need to be 0. What does that mean? Gradient 0, it means a flat line, isn't it? Okay, horizontal line, because there's no rise, 0 rise. Okay, so I'm going to go with the A. Which one is my Y2?
-3.
Yep, -3. And what's my Y1?
3.
So -3, yeah? And what's my X2?
3 and -3.
That's my X2. That's my Y2, isn't it?
-3.
Correct. And then what's my x1?
3.
Yes, thank you. So let's tie this one up, Hannah. So on the top, what happens? -3, -3. What does that mean? So it'd be -6, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So what happens on the bottom?
-6 as well.
Correct. So if you divide it by itself, what do you get? -6 divided by -6.
-1, don't you? Or just 1?
Just 1. When you
Okay.
divide it by itself, it's always 1. Like a 2 divided by 2 is 1.
All right. Yeah.
-10 divided by -10 is 1. Okay.
Okay.
B. Where's my y2?
7.
Okay. And then what's
Did I get that right, Miss?
Yeah, that's correct. And then what's my y1?
7.
Yes, 7. What is x2?
5.
5. What's my x1?
-5.
So I'm going to double -5, okay? So on
Yeah.
the top, what's 7 take away 7?
0.
Correct. And then on the bottom, 5, -5. What happens to negative? The
Creates a
negative-
plus. It creates a plus
Correct,
because
correct,
it's two
correct.
negatives.
Excellent, good girl. So 0 over, what is it?
10.
What? Yeah, 0 divided by 10. It's a 0, isn't it? So it's going to be 0, okay?
Okay.
What is my y2? 4, good girl. What's y1? -6? Yes, very good. So it's going to be -6, -6. And what's my x2? Good girl. And what's my x1? Yep, good girl. So on the top, Victoria, what happens to 4 minus -6? 4 minus -6, Victoria, becomes 4 plus 6, wouldn't it? Because that minus becomes plus. Okay, be careful. So it's be 10. Thank you. And a 1 minus 1 is 0. So it'll be 10 over 0. But we can't do this. Why? Because you cannot divide it by 0. You can't divide it by with nothing. So this one can't even make sense. Okay. D. What's my y2? Yep, 0. And what's my y1? Yep. What's my x2? Yep, good. And what's my x1? Good. So what's on the top? 0 minus 9. Is it just 9? -9. And then 9 take away 0 is 9. So we got -9 divided by 9. Well done. -1. So which one, guys? B. B has a 0, so answer is B. Right, that's all for today's lesson. Well done.